Welcome to the update on the glorious campaign map for the Clash of Civilizations Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. If you've been following along, you've noticed that we've had quite a few battles. So this is going to act as a short summary of what some of those battles have actually achieved. I won't go into the details of every single battle because there have been quite a few. They are in chronological order on the playlist for this playthrough, so you can find them that way if you're interested. But basically, Christendom has expanded to the east significantly and has held off several attacks by the Caliphate, has moved all the way to western India, and reconquered the Holy Land, or conquered the Holy Land. So the Caliphate is, at this point, drastically reduced in power with only the Arabian Peninsula and North Africa. Now, they were able to, as you can see, these circles, if you haven't seen previous installments of this update, the circles signify victories for that specific civilization. So they have been able to defend northwestern Africa, and each one of these, if you're not familiar with how this is going, each one of these battles represents an actual battle we've played. So I try to pair up the map the best I can with the map types, etc., to make it interesting and both entertaining and fun. But Christendom has moved eastwards all the way to West India, and the Caliphate has been relegated to the North Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Now, I have filled in the rest of the map. You may have noticed that wasn't filled in last time. I have finished off the map as far as filling in, or for the most part finished it off. It's filled in with the... I say for the most part because I could change something at some time. I have changed a few things here and there. But for the most part, it should stay the way it is. The empty territories are territories that are saved for PvP. And the reason for that is because they're not really represented by a civilization that's provided in the game. So we're just going to leave them blank. And then when we fight PvP, we can kind of determine who the owner is. And let me explain how that happens, because we just had that this evening in South Africa. So I had a 1 versus 1 versus 1. One was a moderate AI, and one was one of my friends. So whoever won the match would claim this territory. Now, I represented Christendom, my friend represented the Caliphate, and the AI represented the Malians. And I won. So now South Africa is a colonial power of Christendom. Or the European powers, if you will, really. I'm just saying Christendom because it started out in the Crusader era, pretty much, as far as I was concerned. Now, over here, you may notice this is what's going on over here. We had 3 different colors before. We had China, Korea, and Japan, the separate nations. Well, I didn't think it was quite fair to have the Europeans all together and then we have everyone else divided up, because we never started with like unifying Europe or anything like that. So we created the Asian Alliance, which is Korea, Japan, and China all working together for mutual benefit. And we fought in the Asian campaign for a while, where the Asian Alliance took this area and then lost against the Mongols when trying to invade Mongolia, and then was able to retain this area, basically northern China. So, Southeast Asia. I also had these all divided up amongst the different civilizations provided. So, we were going to play against them one by one, but as it turned out, we decided to make them into the Southeast Asian Alliance, and it made a lot more sense, because then we could play as them instead of having to play as just one civilization. For instance, if we wanted to play as the Vietnamese defending against China, then we'd all have to play as the Vietnamese. It didn't really make much sense. So we're just assuming that there's an alliance here as well. So we have at this point, and they also took India, by the way, or we took it rather. We took India, because we were playing as the Southeast Asian Alliance. So we have the Southeast Asian Alliance down here. That's one major fact. Well, let's say a minor faction right now. The Asian Alliance, which we would say is a moderate faction. Mongolia is a or the Mongolians is a shrinking faction, the Caliphate's a shrinking faction, Christendom or the Europeaners are an expanding faction, and we have the African civilizations. I'm thinking I may either make them their own faction or pair them with the Caliphate and create an alliance there. In Mesoamerica and the New World, we have the Incas, the Mayans, and the Aztecs, right? Those are the... Yes. So, these three, I don't play them very often. So, they are probably going to be their own alliance unless something else wacky comes along, but I'm not really sure because we're just doing this whole thing on the fly. But if you're interested in looking at what the world map looks like, given all the battles and what we've been going through, this is it. And I would venture to guess that there's probably going to be a good amount of commotion in North Asia and in Africa in the near future, but I can't say for certain because honestly, I just ask my friends what kind of games they want to play when we log on. So who knows what's going to happen, but this is what it looks like, and that will change at any moment.